Always get you going, doesn't
I
it?
love that little glass breaking sound. Hello, everyone. Good evening. Welcome to Andromeda 7 Celestial Gateway, your community gateway for support, service, friendship, love, and everything in between. It's good to information sharing and knowledge. I forgot that. That's what we're going to do tonight. There we go. It's good to see everyone, and thanks for coming. And we have an opportunity to review some material tonight that Brian Barnette recommended quite some time ago. So I'm kind of excited about it. He had the book, we mentioned it once before, and we'll tell you a little bit about it. But first, we want to greet everyone, and thank you, Dalibor, calling in from Germany, our friend Jules from Australia, Lori from Reno, Nevada.
Hello.
Me from Maryland. and the rest of you out there from all over the place. So, Lori, would you like to do the honors again?
I sure will. Let's acknowledge everyone in chat, shall we?
Yeah.
We've got Miss Chloe. Good to see you always. Slightly Slanted Sleuth, you're out there bowling. All right, knock them dead. Get them all down. Elderberry, always good to see you. Just appreciate you so much and love you very much. David Castle, say hey to Rufus. Love you, brother.
Love you, David.
We have a new person in chat, John Loban, Creative. Welcome. Good to have you with us. Pleasure. Brenda, Milky's mom. How are you, sweet sister? Always a pleasure to have you with us.
Hey, Brenda.
We got Crystal, Olive Hill Soapery. Loving the soap, sis. Love it. Truth Seeker, Jayashir, it's always good to see you, and thank you for joining us. Greetings to you, sister. Lucky Stone, always good to see you. Loving your little shorts, especially with all the wildlife that he does. It's really kind of cool. I'm not sure where he lives, but it's an amazing place, definitely.
Yeah.
Let's see, who else do we have? I think I pretty much.
Chloe, did you get Chloe?
I got Chloe was the first one.
And Crystal, okay.
And Crystal, right. Yeah, we're all caught up. So that's everybody in chat.
Yep, well, hopefully more will trickle in. And for those of you who listen, we have a lot of listeners who...
Joey's here too.
Hey, Joey. Hi, Joey.
Hey, Joey. Always a pleasure.
So we might drop the link in a little later if anybody has a story. If something syncs with you tonight with what you're hearing, because we're going to share some stories. And if anything syncs with you and you want to come on and say anything, feel free to do so. Just speak out in chat and we'll paste the link in there for you.
You betcha. I will paste the link for you.
That's what I mean, you know. You expect me to do it. I'll send him to Cuba by accident.
Thank you, Laurie, for doing your job.
Thank you.
You don't want me to paste anybody in.
Thank you, Jules. Lovely tonight. You look always lovely.
Yes, Jules, explain this mask
I love your
to
flowers.
us. You know? What are you wearing there, dear?
It's whatever you want me to be.
Oh.
That sounds like a loaded question.
Sort of previewing your card for the Joker deck.
That's it. I'm advertising the Joker deck.
Hey, that's right. We should be getting our cards really soon.
That's right. We'll be getting cards. Yes. Al's shipped out a bunch of cards to people. Yeah. Well, we've gotten a few people to sign up too. So
we miss you too, Chloe. Always good to see you.
Always, Chloe. So at the end of the program, don't forget, we're going to run a video of Dave Barry's for his shop, right off of his channel. So we'll run that at the end of the show to show you his new store, online store of I Am Soul Tribe.
Yeah, it's really cool what he came up with.
Really cool logo.
Yeah.
I was talking to him about it. And what he's not just for all of us, it's for other soul tribes out there in the internet land, in the multimedia world.
Soul tribe groups,
trying to unite all the tribes all over the world. Awesome. Because so that together we can bring our intents together to make it through this shift. So the design that he has is a universal design for any soul tribe to go, oh, I am soul tribe. And it has the I
of Ra.
The I Ra.
Yeah, and
so it's very clever. He's got a whole line of products, and any soul tribe in the world can order products for their group from that, and and be united. That's his intent. There's a very powerful intent behind what he's trying to do.
That's awesome.
So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll do that at the end of the show. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So let's bring up the first slide for the book. The book here, and we're not doing a book reading. Hi, Michelle Canham. McFree. Good to see you, sweetheart.
Hi, Michelle.
The whole point behind this is tonight, and maybe we'll do a little bit here and there over the next few months, but this book was a book that Brian had read, and he was very interested in it. It was called The Visible and Invisible Worlds of God by Carolyn Corey. And he could not get his hands on recent copies because he wanted to be able to make it available to the Soul Tribe. He also wanted to be able to do an online reading of it, but you're not allowed to. And it's only available right now in a Kindle format. So the month before he passed away, I was working with him. I told him I would help him out because I had the book myself. I'd already read it. And it was a synchronicity with Brian. And he's like, you got to be kidding me. You actually own the book. And I'm like, yeah, but it's Kindle and I'm not allowed to share it out. And what I can do is screen copy sections of it and email them to you. And you can take excerpts and create slides. And that way you can talk about the book with people without them actually having to read it word for word. And if they want to go out and buy a Kindle version, they can. So that was the idea. And I had sent him about 3 chapters. And he was sending me back bullet points that he wanted to put into slides. So these are some of the slides that I was working on with him. Only I've updated it for PowerPoint because at the time I didn't have PowerPoint. So they actually look better than what I was going to get him, you know. But this comes from chapter 4, and it's about what we started talking to Rocky about with last Friday. And it's about the organization of these beings that we interact with or that are invisible to us most of the time. And the Caroline Corey, it's really her gnosis, Jules. It's her download of what she gets with her contact and connections. And it's also some of the same stuff Brian was getting and I was getting at the time, and other people, I'm sure, resonated with some of this. Not all of it, but quite a bit of it. Made sense to me, and it fit in perfectly with what my gnosis is, and other people too that I've talked to in our tribe. And for many, it won't resonate at all. Or they'll have a slightly different read on it because we're all different. We all perceive things differently.
Well, we're all on different levels too.
Yeah, so I just thought it was kind of interesting because I've been wondering why is it that a lot of people can interact and see things that I don't, and vice versa. There's things that I have interacted with that other people have not. We all get different pieces of this. So this starts to put it into a little bit of a framework. And it might be that you've already heard some of this on other channels, probably. Even from Wayne. Wayne covers everything under the sun, you know, and so does Scotty sometimes. So I'm sure bits and pieces of this you've probably heard before, and some of it might be new. And that's what I'm hoping that we can have a frank discussion and join in and chat and see what you make of this. So let's go to the first slide. Now, I'll cue Lori's going to help me read a little bit of this as we go along. But let me cue this up here. All right, so basically what Caroline Corey was saying is that the physical worlds are created by a creator energy and consciousness and administered by spirit beings and divine forces. You may also say that all existing matter is controlled and administered by the creator mind or mind energy of your divine creator and creator source. But what makes a being or object visible or invisible to a human is its vibrational rate of its composing elements. Spirit beings are particles of energy whose vibrational frequency exceeds the human perceptual range. Next slide. They're therefore invisible. spirit beings are able to become visible by slowing down their vibrational frequencies and matching that of humans for the purpose of telepathic exchange and occasional manifestations. We're going to talk about a little bit of this. Similarly, non-human physical beings are able to raise their vibrational frequency. Next slide. They raise theirs. They're from a completely different realm. They're not from the spirit realm. They're kind of the yang to our yin and yang, you know.
Mhm.
They're like this Egyptian jinn would be a really good example of just one example of how they're able to, you know, they morph in and out of visibility. Like the one Scotty Roberts told us about.
Mhm.
All of a sudden it just appeared in like a shadow form and then it was gone.
Yeah, it was translucent as well, which
Yeah.
is
Your shadow spirits will do this, your changeling type energies. Apparently, they achieve this phenomenon by manipulating their own energetic field. And they can command time and space. The time and space fields, they can actually command it at will to interact with us in such a way that they either particularize or departicularize. And they can be perceivable and remain undetectable. You perceive them, you sense they're there, you catch them out of the corner of your eye. They haven't completely manifested. So there's those kinds, and we'll get to that in more detail. Next one. So Caroline goes on in the book. If you read this chapter, it goes into it. She talks about the earthly organization of spiritual beings. And she says, from other systems, they don't need to be visible. They materialize in order to coexist with us here on Earth. In fact, there's a great number of intelligent beings, she says, and I've heard other Soul Tribe members tell me this too. There are a great number of intelligent beings currently present on Earth who are entirely unnoticed by you.
Yep.
Right? They are here for different functions and purposes. So there's a reason for every. I used to think that these were just all demonic creatures out to get us because that's what I was programmed to think. But these different beings that we interact with all have a purpose, and they're here for a specific reason. So she breaks it down based on her gnosis of what she's learned, that all beings currently on Earth are broken into two categories, state of origin or soul lineage. The first is evolutionary physical origin, and the second is their spirit or divine origin. So some beings fall in category 1, some beings fall in category 2. Next one. The physical beings are evolutionary. So they incarnate in a physical meat suit, just like we have. So we're basically physical beings. But these are not necessarily human, as we are. So there are people out there running around in meat suits that look just like us, but they're not human. They can be categorized in 3 distinct ways. Now, this is how I like the way this woman has broken this down.
Me
because
too.
it makes it easier to understand. There are the human beings, the visible non-human beings, and the invisible physical beings. And we're going to talk about this as soon as I get rid of this slide here. Let's go to the next one. We'll hold here, Lori. You can stop the slide, and we'll come back to here when we're finished and go into the next section.
You got it.
Physical beings are evolutionary. Let's see. While their physical appearance may be relatively complete, their brain capacity and mind expansion continues to advance exponentially. So they're learning about us. They're right here working along with us. You'd think you're working with somebody just like you or your family, and they're not. Your planet is one of the many worlds that are inhabited by physical beings, she says. You are beginning to awaken to their existence and will soon openly embrace your common galactic heritage. This is where I'm still not sold on the fact that they're not a thought form from us. But they might be. I'm not going to say they aren't. In terms of conscious evolution, humans are the juveniles of material creation, but are moving rapidly to enlightened attainments of their neighboring planets. A myriad of non-human physical beings from other systems are currently on Earth but remain invisible due to time and space pockets that they exist in. They are also able to manipulate their energy field through departicularization and travel through your earthly system without even being perceived. Their role and function vary from planetary and scientific observation and research to the teaching of spiritual emancipation. So some of them are teachers. Visible and invisible physical beings currently on Earth are categorized as human beings who are born on Earth, like us, who are, of course, physical and very visible. Humans typically do not recall their prenatal agreements. They must begin their life right here on Earth. They will normally incarnate a few and up to thousands of physical embodiments until they realize their unlimited divine self and master their creative powers and mind potential. They are then able to move to more evolved worlds and carry on with their soul journeys. Now, I've talked a little bit with folks, Jules and I were talking the other day. We don't see them as other worlds and other planets. We see them as other planes of existence within the dome, our dome, of everything that's around us. All that energy matter that's around us has various planes of existence and could be described as separate worlds. So it depends on your perspective, because we still believe that the cosmos is inside of us and is an outer reflection. It just depends on your perspective, and we can get into that deeper. They are able to move more through your worlds and carry on with their soul journeys. In other words, they can choose to either stay here or move on to another plane of existence or another planet, however you want to perceive it. They're given a choice. And we're part of that. The visible non-humans are the ones that kind of creep me out still, because I'm not sure about them. They appear as normal humans, like I said earlier, but their ancestry or soul lineage, as well as their genetic encoding, stem from another evolved star or planetary system. They incarnate here as humans and awaken gradually over time to their true non-human identity. I think we know someone like this. They are normally unaware of their role or mission until they remember their prenatal agreement while in flesh. In very rare instances, these beings may walk in fully aware of their earthly contract. You know that term walk-in? They might be walk-ins, fully aware of their earthly contract. These unique individuals, they are unique, normally work in unison with other divine entities for your species' evolution and transmutation to the next level or next order of existence. Now, are these not the star people? The people that realize, hey, I'm a starseed. I don't belong to Earth. I belong in another plane.
They're the ones that always feel like they're in the wrong place at the wrong time.
I'm a Rocancrean. I'm a Aryan. I'm a Lyran. So they identify because they're remembering who they are. They look like you and me. They incarnate just like you and me, but they are from somewhere else, is what they think. And this was this woman's confirmation that they do exist. And we can kick that around. The third category was the invisible physical beings. And we might know some in the chat room that are from, that identify with that. And there's
I've
nothing
known
wrong.
several people like that just always felt like they were in the wrong place at the wrong time. Like like, I don't feel like I should be here, kind of a thing.
Right.
I always found that fascinating.
Yeah. We know some folks in the Soul Tribe who have come out, stepped forward, and they're afraid to speak up because some of them are afraid they're going to be labeled as insane or mentally imbalanced. But we can't say to those folks you're mentally imbalanced because I've seen too much now of spiritual activity to deny the possibility. I can't do that to those people because they have every bit as right to speak up as we do and say we're human. We have a gnosis that we come from a creator source. You have a gnosis that you come from somewhere else. Hey, who am I to judge? I'm not, you know? And I don't want them to go through life feeling like they can't speak about it. This is what this spiritual community is here for, you know? So that's a total change for me. There's a couple of you who know that out there in chat world. You know me, and that's a big change for me to even think that way. Because my first response a year ago was, what are these people smoking? You know? And even 6 months ago, it was, what sci-fi books are they absorbing? You know, I mean, it's like, so, you know, I'm getting better at this, and I'm understanding this invisible world. My intuition has improved. So that's what this is about. You go in there with the intent from the heart that you truly want to understand, and then from that heart intent, you hone your intuition and you start feeling the energy, and then you can pretty much, you know, learn, keep an open mind, as Wayne always tells people, keep an open mind, you know. Invisible physical beings, that's the third and last one, folks, before we get into the celestial world. That's a whole nother subject in this chapter. The invisible physical beings. Now, these guys have evolved further than humans, guys and gals, male, female, if they any energy there. They have evolved further than humans. They're in physical form. They have developed advanced skills in telekinesis, technology, and science. However, because they exist in a different time-space continuum and vibrate at different wavelengths, they cannot be perceived by humans. Now, there are occasional breaches in the fabric of time and space arrangement that allow humans to perceive and interact with these beings, although it's rare. And at times, it's higher level of activity than others, for whatever that reason might be. Sightings of alien beings, reptilians, and the like fit into this category of non-visible physical beings. So there is some debate. There is some debate as to whether or not the grays fit this category or the first one I was talking about with the physical, non-physical, which are the jinn. There's even some who have gone so far as to say, oh, we know who the grays are. They're aspects of you people that were so deeply embedded into 3D that they separated spiritually from any higher consciousness, and they delved into dark matters too deeply and gave way into too much of the physical material world, and they can't work their way back. They're not from outer space. They're not from another planet. They're not aliens. They're us. But they've when they, instead of ascending when they pass on, they descended into dark matter. Now, some people would call that hell.
That almost sounds like Bigfoot.
Yeah.
Could be.
Yeah.
Like Bigfoot, because that seems to be like a being that either like descended into our realm from somewhere else, became humanoid, human-like, and in order to teach us a lesson, because the phenomena surrounding Bigfoot is always connected with other phenomena, like either ghost lights or disappearances in national parks or the UFO phenomenon, crop circles, or the whole 9 yards.
Right.
So, you know, that's it's not an isolated phenomenon.
No, it's not. Now, we do have a couple stories that this group wanted to share with everybody that goes back to these types of beings. And I wanted to take a moment. Brenda, prayers for a little 5-year-old girl. She has been missing here in our area for 11 days. Her name is Summer Moon, Utah Well. Is this the one you posted, Brenda, on Facebook that's been missing? I've been sharing that out. And so the intent is that she's found safe and as quickly as possible. Thank you, Brenda. And keep sending those updates, and I'll keep posting them, Brenda. Because I shared out the last 2, I believe. 11 days is a long time, but we have faith. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's go back to now the one that I honed in on is I have some personal experience with. And Dalbor, do you want to go first? Because you said you had a story about.
Well, it was a weird story, and I've never been able to find this man, and I've never been able to locate this specific location where this experience happened to me. I was traveling on the D1 highway, which goes from Prague, Czech Republic, to Brno, Czech Republic, eastbound. And we pulled off at a rest stop right before the city limits of Brno. And I distinctly remember this area. It was a rest stop, but it didn't have any of the usual accoutrements. It's just, a parking lot and some woods where you do your business. So, I'm standing there doing my business, literally. And all of a sudden, I hear a voice behind me asking me, "Excuse me, sir, would you be interested in purchasing some rare coins?" And I said, "Okay, can you wait until I finish doing my business?" And I'm thinking to myself, "Oh God, only in Eastern Europe could this happen." So I finish, and it's an old gentleman, and he's got like all these coins that he wants to sell. And I was traveling with somebody else, and she bought some coins off him. I bought some coins off him. He didn't want a lot of money, and it was just really weird. And my companion and they agreed that they were born in the same year, 1923, and she was born 3rd of. No, 2nd of March, and he was born 3rd of April, 1923, which means he would have been around 98 today. And he was strange because he looked like something out of like an 1800s magazine, except that he had a homemade wallet that was made of cardboard and duct tape. Just this like waiter's type wallet with different compartments in it.
Huh.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so I may have bought maybe like $35 worth of silver coins from him, except that he insisted that I buy like a whole lot every time. He was selling it by lots, and among these were like normal circulation coins that were pretty much worthless. But I was like, oh, whatever, So we talked about it afterwards and thought it was kind of strange. So then we looked at the map because none of us had ever remembered there being a rest stop in that area. So having been back many, many times on that eastbound lane of the D1 right before it hits Brno, with an overpass overhead where once you go underneath that overpass, you see like the high rises on both sides of the city. There is no such place. We both of us searched on Google Maps, old maps, everything. There never was a rest stop there in that area. And the story that he gave us was that he was selling the coins to raise money for a son of his that had rheumatoid arthritis, where the only drugs that were helping him were expensive drugs that he needed hard currency to purchase. So it was kind of a strange story. So we never found the man again, never found the rest stop, and the rest stop does not exist.
Ha 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 ha. See, that's the part that gets me, is the rest stop didn't even exist.
Didn't even exist at that time, no.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
That's bizarre.
Freaky.
Very.
Wow.
And like I said, the man, he looked like he came out of like the Gilded Age or something, or like the Victorian era. He wore like this, for want of a better word, like old-fashioned clothing, and it was completely out of place except for that strange homemade wallet that he had.
Now, see, that almost sounds like a time shift, or someone who's crossed over from a parallel or another time frame, which is not. Go ahead.
Did you touch him? When he gave you the coins, did you physically feel his touch?
I don't remember if I touched him at all. I don't remember if I touched him. No. That's a good question. Now that I think back at that experience, I mean, I did hand him money, and he didn't, because I handed him pretty much we had agreed on like an exact amount that I had, so I just gave him like I believe it was $35. And because, see, that's the thing. I wasn't living in Europe at that time. I was living in the United States, and I had just gone. This was 2001. And I had just gone over for like a month to do some business, hire employees, hire programmers, and do some other business transactions.
Yeah.
So,
wow.
Yeah.
So, hey, Susie Q and Mel Mac, Mossy, good to see you guys. Glad you came. Suzanne Kaki's here. Yeah. Good to see you, folks. Dalibor, that's almost, well, mine's a little slightly different. The first one, I was 1995, and I was a regional operations manager for a nationwide healthcare company. And we did computer information systems, and we worked under a lot of pressure and a lot of stress. And there were personal things going on in my life with my mom passing away and all kinds of things. And guilt and PSTD and all that. And I started drinking heavily with my coworkers. And it became habitual to the point where every night after work, we'd be in a data center. We deal with the people, the general users all day long, yelling and screaming at us. And then in the evening, we're uploading software and hardware systems, and we're fried. So we head out for some camaraderie and started drinking. Became habitual. Yeah. It became heavier and heavier. And eventually, drinking and driving, you know, when you're depressed and you're feeling like the end of the world and things aren't right, and you have guilt and you're not spiritually awake, even though you know you have had some spirituality background, you like I said to people before, I walked away from Creator. I walked away from Great Spirit, and I went into dark. Okay? And so I was drinking a lot, and I almost wrapped my car around a tree. I was driving a Camaro, T-top.
Oh, wow.
And I had the radio blasting, and I was just, you know, and I knew I needed to pull over because the car was, I was going down back country roads doing 70, 80 miles an hour on purpose. God. Because part of me wanted to die, and the other part, even though I had a great career and made a lot of money, I wasn't a happy person. So I didn't care. But I must have, or something made me care, because I got this very strong message: pull over, get off the road. You're going to hurt somebody. Well, that's all I needed, because never in my life did I ever do anything to hurt somebody. I didn't care if I hurt myself, but I wasn't going to hurt anybody else. So there was a convenience store, and I pulled into the convenience store because they always have coffee and donuts, and they have tables outside. And I went in, and I telling you folks, I could barely walk. I could barely get out of the car, let alone walk straight. I was walking in a zigzag all the way into this place. And there's a station where they have the coffee. And the guys are like, hey, what's up, T? And, you know, because I went by T then too, or Terry. People called me Terry. And I knew them. They're two brothers that run the place. And I said, I got to have some coffee. I got to have some coffee. So I went over to try to pour some coffee. And I tell you guys, I got the coffee cup like this. I'm trying to pour, and the coffee's going everywhere but in the cup. That's how bad it was.
Wow.
And this pair of hands came over. And one hand grabbed the coffee pot, because we didn't have the kind back then with the barrels, you know. These were individual coffee pots that you know, glass speakers. She grabs the pot out of one hand, and I'm holding the cup, but my hands are going like this. So she takes her other hand and holds the bottom of it. So I felt, so clue number one, her skin was a different color than mine, I noticed. And she held my hand steady. She physically grabbed a hold of me, held my hand steady. I still hadn't looked at her yet. But she's giving me an audible, sweetheart, you've had way too much to drink. And I'm like, no shit. You know, it's like, you know, I was not. And I was like, oh,
you're lit.
Yeah, she's like, you need to be not driving. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, here comes the lecture. from a stranger, right? And being the Italian-Irish hothead that I was at the time, I was getting ready to rip into this person. Don't tell me what to do. You know, how people act when they get drunk.
Sure.
And but she was being so nice. And so I turned around and look at her, and she had the sweetest face of anybody I've ever met in my life. She was probably African-American or Malaysian, dark skin. I don't know for sure. The race doesn't matter, but it was her eyes were blue, and they were brilliant, and they just sparkled like you wouldn't believe. And she just relaxed me. I mean, I just felt this whole anger just relax. It's just like, we need to go sit you down and sober you up, sister.
Like a wave that came over you, just that
yeah. And I said, well, I want some cigarettes. And she says, I'll get your cigarettes. Don't worry about it. So the guy gets the cigarettes down on the counter and hands me the cigarettes. And she takes me outside and sits me down at a table. Long story short, she did talk to me about the woes of drinking. It's not a good idea, the impact on your health, why you shouldn't risk your life or risk anybody else's life. And she went inside and got me a sweet roll, and I didn't want it. I was like, I'm not eating that. She's like, you got to eat this. You got to get the sugar in. Have another cup of coffee. And we're sitting there just chit-chatting. She says, I have to go use the restroom. I'm like, okay, now understand. This is 1 o'clock in the morning. There's nobody on the road. There's nobody at the gas pumps, and there's no other cars parked there but my Camaro. So just keep that in mind. And it's one of these country roads where there's no sidewalks for miles. Okay? And there's no bicycles. Okay? There's no bicycle rack. And she goes inside to go to the ladies' room. And after a while, she didn't come back. And so I got up to go in and get some more coffee. And I said, where'd that lady go? And the taller brother, he says, what lady? And I said, the one that was helping me with my coffee and was giving me something to eat. I wanted to thank her, you know. He goes, I don't know what you're talking about. You came in here alone and you left to go out front to drink your coffee alone. I don't know. I have a clue what you're talking about. And I said, well, that's okay. So I was that far gone. Okay, all right, I'll just pay for my cigarettes, you know. And I kept thinking, what the frack, you know? Your cigarette. And so the little guy says, your cigarettes are already paid for. He says, so is your coffee. And I said, well, I haven't paid you anything. And the tall guy says, yeah, you did. You paid for it. I'm like, no, I didn't, because she took my keys and she took my wallet, and I didn't know this, okay? I said, no, I didn't. In fact, I have to probably go out in the car. I think I left my wallet in the car. And the little guy goes, no. And he turns around to his brother and he goes, what the hell are you trying to do? Gaslight her or something? The lady was really nice. She paid for the coffee. She paid for the cigarettes, and here's your keys. And he held up my keys.
Wow.
All right. So the brother gets mad. And he says, I can prove to you there was nobody there but her. And the little guy goes, yeah, she was over there pouring coffee with her. Yes, she was there. I'm like, these two are messing with me, right? That's my first thought, was they're messing with me. But the little guy, I've known him for years, and I never thought him to be that kind of person. Pulls it up on the video, and he and his little brother and I are looking at the video, and we're watching the video film, and there's nobody there.
Can they see you talking to what you think? Oh.
They saw me talking to somebody, and the younger brother was like, "What the flying?" And he goes, "What the hell?" He was totally mind blown by it. In fact, he was freaked out to the extent that he started shaking. And I said, "Have either one of you ever seen her before?" And they're like, "No, we've never seen her before." You know, and I'm like, "Okay, whatever." I got in my car, and the whole way home, I'm just thinking, thank God, because I was going to get back in the car with a cup of coffee, half smashed, and drink it and drive with coffee, and I may have killed myself that night. So whoever she was, I thank the universe for sending her to me. I don't care if she was a human being or one of these spirit beings, but that's pretty freaky.
Divine intervention is what it was.
That almost reminds me of the Alyssa Lamb footage. That's also a mysterious incident if you look into it, where in the footage from the elevator, you could see her interacting with what appears to be somebody who the camera is not registering.
Oh.
Yeah, if you look into the murder of Alyssa Lamb, where her body was found in a water tank above the
Yeah.
building, in a hotel in Chicago, in LA, I believe. Very strange incident.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's just, yeah. Now, here's the thing, though. She was probably close to my age, about 30, 35, somewhere around there. Very well, healthy looking person. I looked around, all around. There was no vehicle. She just disappeared. About 5 or 6, and you would think that would be a wake up call for someone like me, wouldn't you?
Mm-hmm. Most definitely.
It wasn't.
Wow.
It was like that video I saw today. Somebody posted of the lamb running. This guy pulls the lamb out of the ditch because it's got its head and its butt sticking out of the ditch, and he's pulling on its tail and he's trying to get it out. And the lamb gets out and he's like freaking out, and he runs down the length of the ditch and he tries to jump back over the ditch, and he ran right back into the same slot, stuck his head in it again. Sometimes it takes more than one time for us to wake the hell up. I should have listened to her, but I didn't. I stopped drinking like that after work, but I still drank heavily.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of woke me up a little bit, but not enough. And it took about 4 years later, when I went to, I took a plane to Chattanooga, Tennessee, to help open up an office. Well, not open, but there was a person there that needed to be replaced. And they sent me in. Now I was at the executive level, no longer in IS, but at the corporate executive level as account exec. And you have to go in there and help bring on clean house. So I had to go in there, and the guys that had worked for me were like, "Oh, Teresa, Terry, we're so glad you're coming. It's this woman's driving us crazy." And I'm like, "Let's just chill, And so I was there to fix things. I was a fixer, basically, and hiring and rehiring staff. And so I had to go in there to analyze the situation. But I was a heavy drinker, so I drank every time I flew. I was terrified of flying because I flew all over the country, and I was fine with the landing, but I hated the takeoff. And so to get on a plane, I would drink. Then I would drink when I got off the plane. Then I would drink in my hotel room at nighttime. Drink. Okay? I'm not proud of it, people. I'm not boasting about this. I'm just sharing with you how bad off it was. And everybody in the field was like that, in the health insurance field, mental health insurance field, and especially technicians, computer people or technical people, and operations management people like me. You're under a lot of pressure, and so you find your crutches. Okay? So you don't do heavy drugs, but drinking is something you can get away with, unfortunately. So anyway, got into the airport here at DC. Got in there and went to a bar to have my first drink because I knew I was going to get on a flight. It was early flight. They were serving. I went in there to have a drink. And this woman, this African-American Malaysian woman, beautiful, beautiful blue eyes, about 45 years old, says to me, "Do you know where gate 13 is or gate 12? I forget the gate number." She was looking for the gate. And I said, "Yeah, that's my gate. It's down the corridor to your left." And she says, "Are you getting ready to go have a drink?" I'm like, "Yeah, why? Would you like to join me?" And she's like, she's dressed similarly to me, right? And I said, "Why? Would you like to get a drink?" And she's like, "Yeah, nah, I think I'd rather get something to eat. I really need something to eat. You don't want to drink either, do you?" I'm like, "Excuse me? No, I'm going to go get a drink because if I don't drink, I'm not getting on the plane." So she grabs me by the shoulder. This woman doesn't even know me. She goes, "Come on, let's go get a burger. Let's go get something to eat instead. Is one of these places open?" And I'm like, "Yeah, around the corner." She goes, "Let's go sit down and have something to eat instead." And I'm like, okay, I don't know why. She just was a nice person, and she was very nice. And I just thought, okay, maybe she's right. Maybe I should skip it this time. I'll get one on the plane.
Yeah, right.
So I followed her to the sandwich shop where we had food. And she sat there and we exchanged information and we worked in the same field. In fact, she was my client. She worked for the company across the street from my building in Chattanooga. Our business meeting the next day was with her and her team. She worked in claims adjudication. She knew who I was. Oh my God, you're the person who's come to straighten out the office across the street. I'm like, yeah, that's me. So she knew all about the project. She knew all about the lives that we were bringing on, the new contracts. She knew everything there was to know. And we sat on the plane. So we got to get on the plane, and her seat's right next to mine. What are the chances of that? So I'm sitting there, I'm like, you're kidding me. And she's like, oh, we can continue our conversation. I'm thinking, oh, that's all I need. I just want a drink, you know? So when they came behind with the drinks, and I was getting ready to order my drink, she puts the woman goes to hand me the gin, and she puts the gin down like this, and she goes, she'll have a Diet Coke and some peanuts. And I'm like, you know, I wanted to say something at that point, but I didn't. I held back because I'm like, you know, who is she? She's a client. I couldn't very well say anything negative to a client. So I was just like sitting there going, I really wanted that drink.
Yeah.
You know, and this is, you know, she's held me up now for the past hour without a drink. So instead I had the Coke. So we go to get off the plane. She hands me her business card, right? Tells me where she's staying, hands me her business card, tells me she'll see me tomorrow for the meeting, you know, and to hook up with her for lunch so we could talk over some details before the meeting. And that's what I did the next day. I called and somebody else answered the phone and said, who do you want? And I wrote her the name off the business card. She says, we don't have anybody here by that name. Who are you talking about? I said, your director of claims adjudication. And I gave the woman's name again. And she says, how do you spelling that name? And I spelled it. And so she looks on the roster for the company. She says, we don't have anybody by that name in the company. Let me hook you up to personnel. So she sends me to the Human Resources Department. People, wait till you'll hear this. She sends me to the Human Resources Department. The Human Resources person gets on there and says, confirms they don't have anybody like that. And then she says, let me go get the director of HR. So she goes and gets the director of HR, right? And she puts her on the phone with me, and I have to go through the story all over again with the director of HR. And we had shared, I said, look, listen, I know she's there because I shared a cab with her. I have her card. We dropped her off at your office first before we came to mine. I know she's in there. This is what she looks like, and I described her. And she says, what's her name again? And I gave her the name. And she goes, that's not possible. That's my last name. And I said, well, and she's impersonating you then. I said, are you of African-American descent? And she goes, yes, I am. And she says, but that's not my name. That's my great-great-grandmother's name.
Oh.
I said, did
she have a similar look to the gal that was in the convenience store?
Yeah, I didn't put it together right away.
Okay, it's the same entity. Yeah.
You're getting there, Lori.
Yeah.
So I said, well, did she work for your company? And she goes, no, she's been dead for years. And I said, she says, what? I said, look, she was on. I said, oh my God. I said, you know, I have a drinking problem, and she was helping me. That's what it was. Your great-great-grandmother was on the plane with me because I have a drinking problem. She goes, my great-great-grandmother worked during Prohibition here in Chattanooga and had set up a special organization for rehabilitating people with drinking problems because they were all freaking out because during Prohibition, they couldn't get their booze.
Oh, I bet.
And she worked in that field for a long, long time. And I said, well, I don't know. I don't believe at the time. I said, I've been on a lot of paranormal investigations. She could have been a ghost, but she touched me. She was just as solid as you and I are. And when I described her, she said, so she showed me the next day the picture of her great-great-grandmother, and it was her. It was her.
Wow.
And then
Oh
it
my
clicked. She showed me pictures of her when she was younger. And when she showed me the pictures, I said, oh my God, it's the same chick that helped
As in
me
the
that night.
convenience store.
It was at the convenience store, something like 4 years previous to that. So now, you tell me, who am I interacting with?
Your guardian angel. That's your guardian angel.
I would
That's
say
my
so.
take. That's
I
my
would say
take.
so
That's
myself.
my opinion. Most definitely.
Or was she, because she knew I was working in Chattanooga, because she was in that line when she was alive here, incarnate on Earth? Could it be that the celestial, when we talk about the next time we get together about the celestial chapter of celestial beings, there's a council of elders, pretty much, of celestial beings.
You were sent some help. You were sent help. No doubt about it.
And whatever angel chose to intercede in your life decided to assume the identity of somebody who had actually existed.
And they
To
wanted
make
you to
the
know.
timeline, yes, and they wanted you to know that this was like not a human being,
Right.
because you know, her great grandmother obviously could not have been alive or
So
at
she
that same
verified
location
it.
at that convenience store, and you verified this information, so that provided like a continuity in both
It's gotta
timelines,
be.
and in the timeline of like the back in the 1920s and in 1995.
Yeah.
So
that makes sense.
makes sense.
That makes sense because I'm telling you, I've done paranormal investigations, and almost never do you get a full body apparition, let alone a solid. And you almost never get anybody to touch you other than a poke or
they're
you
on a
can't see
different.
it.
They're on a completely different level than
Different frequency.
That's exactly it. It's much more sophisticated and on a whole different level.
It's kind of like the Bigfoot, like I mentioned before,
Yeah.
because the only physical trace they seem to leave behind is the footprints, where they haven't been caught on video camera as often as we would like them to.
Yeah.
And they don't really touch people, they don't really injure people or anything, but they do leave behind these huge footprints. So, you know, in other words, their interaction with the physical world is selected for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chrissy torch passed to granddaughter. It could be because the granddaughter did tell me she was also took after her great grandmother and her grandmother and helped people in the town of Chattanooga.
And it was a way to verify, to validate for you that it was divine intervention and not a true physical person. And to have the daughter be able to verify it for you that, yeah, that's what she looked like. That was her name.
Or her grandmother, her great grandmother had actually ascended, her soul had ascended into an angelic realm, and she had become an angel.
That's what I mean.
She had become an angel.
Yeah.
That's exactly it.
Well, I gave up the heavy drinking for a long, long time. But I fell off the wagon periodically here and there, and I've gone through periods. I'm happy to say it's been, what is it, Michelle? Did I meet Michelle and Audrey and Susie Q? I met you guys, 2 years ago at least? So I had a slip up, not this past Christmas, but Christmas before. I took a couple. I didn't know what I was doing because somebody fixed me a new kind of drink, and I was having fun with it. I got a little, and I found out what
so
it was.
A social drinking. It wasn't a drinking to escape. It was
you
were at a social event. No. You were having a good time. So that's
And then
it's a different reason.
Since then, I've had family members that have 2 of them that have taken themselves out with alcohol to the extent that they've ruined all their organs and they're no longer with us.
Right.
So a mother and a daughter, my sister and her daughter. So I won't never go back to that ever.
Yeah.
And no matter how bad things are for me, it's all about attitude. It's all about perception and attitude. And even if I feel that anxiety or that tension or that pit in my stomach, I'm not going back there. I'll do anything but that.
It's also ironic that one of the names for alcohol is spirit.
Yeah,
spirits.
Wow, that's interesting.
That's right.
I never thought about it that way.
Yeah.
Laura, you have a story too, right? I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead, Jules. Yeah, go ahead, Jules.
Well, that's with what you just said, because it's called spirit. you watch how the person changes their personality when they have been drinking. And I've watched that many times.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. And it's I know the Russian Smirnoff, I think it's called, or something. There's a drink like that. And a lot of the actual behaviour is really awful with people that drink that when they've drunk too much. Or it could
Grandpa
be
Brian's.
It's interesting that Smirnoff and Stolichnaya in the United States, they're made by a company called the Black Prince Distillery. I'm sure there's a lot of significance to that name.
Yes, I'm sure there is.
Yeah, David Castle says, your hero's journey, Teresa D'Anton. Yes, he's right. No doubt.
I don't feel much like a hero, but
yeah.
But thank you. I think Grandpa Brian is trying to get in here.
He's trying.
Yes.
Are you able to communicate with him?
No.
Oh, shoot.
No. He's having some kind of a buffering situation.
Yeah.
And see, that's the analogy for contact with the spirit world. Sometimes they try to get in and they can't get in.
Right.
We know they're trying to get in, and all we can see is like a mist, a swirling mist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen, I woke up one morning. It was early in the morning and I was kind of sleepy-ish, and I looked up and I saw this white mist going across the ceiling, through the doorway and up through the ceiling. And I thought, oh shit, the house is on fire. So I popped up really quick to get out of the house thinking that it was on fire, that it was smoke, and it wasn't there. It disappeared.
So
it
maybe
completely disappeared. And I was like, okay.
Maybe it just wanted to get your attention and get you to wake up and do something else. You know,
I don't know what that was all about, but that blew my mind. And there was one time I was on my way home. I was in my 20s. I had been drinking heavily, very similar to something that you did, although I didn't see anyone, but I knew it was divine intervention.
Yeah.
I'm hitting this long stretch and I'm just, going too fast. And all of a sudden the car does a 360 and I'm spinning in the middle of the freeway. And my hands are on the steering wheel and I'm so stunned and just like in disbelief at what was going on. But the whole thing was the car was moving in slow motion. And time just went like it was weird. It just went like that.
Wow.
And it spun. And when I came out of the spin, I was facing forward and I'm still driving and I didn't skip a beat. And I started shaking. My knees started shaking and I pulled over and I just put my face in my hands and I went, somebody just protected me like no other. And boy, talk about instant straight. I instantly got straight. I waited about an hour before I left where I was at, and it's stuck with me ever since. So to me, that was divine intervention, but it was the strangest thing one of the strangest things I've ever experienced. Little did I know that I was going to experience way more than that as I got older. But that was my real first, whoa, what the heck happened? Spiritual.
Yeah.
Couldn't believe it.
I actually saw a car do exactly the same thing that you just described. I was getting gas at the Amoco station on Route 4 and the intersection of Route 208 by Saddle River Road. And this car coming from 208 North, I don't know what happened, but she spun out like at least not 3 times, but 6 times, and somehow crossed like 4 lanes of traffic and ended up between one of the pumps and the sign for the Amoco station, directly between. I mean, in such a way that there was literally half an inch on each side. It was just statistically impossible for this backwards. Of all positions. Yeah, of all positions, backwards.
Wow.
So she was able to get out through one of the rear doors or whatever. She was uninjured, but it was I saw the whole thing and I couldn't believe it. Yeah.
Wow.
It's mind-bending, especially when and then the next morning you're thinking, did that really happen? You kind of question yourself and you're like, whoa, but no, Most definitely happens. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
It's
it just
crazy.
goes to prove that, I mean, and I've talked to other people that have stories. Some are more detailed than mine. Some are more simplistic, but you can't convince me that there is no such thing as a guardian angel or an angel. They're messengers in biblical texts. There's messenger in other prophecies and other texts. I think that they're real, and I've interacted with the same one twice now. There may be others that were sent to me in all my life, and I never acknowledged them or didn't know who they were.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Most definitely.
Do you
Yeah.
still have do you still have that business card? Do you remember her name?
No, I think it was Janine or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Either Jennifer or Janine, but no, that was so long ago, Dalibor. It was in 1998, 99. Yeah, that's a long time ago for me to remember. But no, I mean, I suppose if I got out I kept every business journal that I ever wrote, and so it's probably in there somewhere in that journal.
I too have a large collection of business cards, and one time I had a strange occurrence happen to me. My car got broken into, and I had cash there. I had cash in my car. I had contracts. I was working as a traveling salesman at that time.
Yeah.
And the strangest thing about that break-in was the fact that the only thing missing from my possessions were 3 business cards.
Yeah.
And I knew that there were 3 business cards because they were they were missing because I would put them in one after the other, and they were missing from the booklet that I had of business cards. I'm like, why would somebody take those 3 specific business cards? And I know what one of them was, but what if it was like an attempt by a higher dimensional entity to scrub the tracks of somebody else who might have interfered in my timeline by being discovered through my business card or something like that. What if it was an attempt at reality scrubbing?
Yeah.
Why would somebody break into somebody's car, not take the cash, and only take 3 different business cards? I mean, makes no sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Jules popped out.
Yep. And it looks like Grandpa Brian's just buffering. He's trying, but
he's been trying to get in. I think he's testing. We're going to be having him on soon, so this was an opportunity for him tonight with a smaller group to try to hook in and join in on the conversation. So we'll learn from this what's working for him and what didn't work for him.
Right. Right. Gotcha.
Is Jules coming back, or did she say?
No. She's said terrific stuff, girls. Going to leave.
Okay, it's time.
We're coming to the end of the hour of anyway.
Yeah, we're coming to the end of it anyway. Yeah. So, so that's just proof to me. Those kinds of stories back up this gnosis that this lady is trying to share, and so to me, now that I've been through all those different entities that I've experienced, like child spirits and adult spirits that can't manifest, but you can hear an audible, or you can get it on an EVP. Those to me are us trapped in between dimensions.
And it's also
we're
strange.
still lurking in those places,
Yeah.
It's also strange that some of them will manifest only using technology like video cameras or EVP machines, while some cannot be recorded on video or cameras or EVP machines, but only visible to the human eye.
Yeah.
Which almost ties in with the medieval legends that you can only see a vampire through a mirror, that you can't see him directly. That's almost like a similar analogy.
Yeah.
Well,
it would be.
Yeah. There's a lot. Buck has found the TV at Brian's house on a couple of times that he was over there. Really? That's kind of what happens to you, Lori.
It happens a lot to me. In fact, it recently happened to me about a week ago. And it's Eric. He likes to punk me. This is how he got my attention to begin with. This is how I finally realized what was going on. He had been trying to get my attention. And what he does is he turns my TV off, and not just once or twice, but sometimes 4 times. And last week and it's always when I'm dead tired. I don't probably is more of an effect, but so I turn the TV off like I normally do. I'm grabbing everything, get ready to go into the other room, and whoop, comes back on, and I'm like, "Hi, Eric." And then I shut it off, and it comes back on again. And then as I'm talking to him the next morning, when I communicate with him through the pendulum, he's like, "Yeah, I punked you." I said, "I knew it was you. I just knew you were doing that to me." But that's ultimately how I realized that he was trying to get my attention.
Now, see, everything he does with you, Eric.
Mm-hmm.
Eric is somebody who ascended.
Yes, he's a 22-year-old.
He committed suicide, right?
Who committed suicide.
He was 22 years old.
Very sensitive kid.
Okay, so here's my question. Is he still a kid, yes or no?
That's a tough one to answer.
Do you think he's 22, or do you think he's older than 22?
He's probably the age that he left because he's so young, okay? And you're very vibrant. You can be any age you want. From my understanding, talking to him, you can be any age you want in the afterlife. You are who you are when you leave this realm. So I will be Lori Cross when I leave this realm, and I can be the 33-year-old, I can be the 50-year-old, I can be whatever age I want to be. I can show you whoever I want you to see who I am. But he has a playfulness about him, but he has an infinite intelligence about him as well. So it's a little bit of both. He doesn't have when you deal with this. When you're dealing with, he's an archangel. So when I first started talking to him, he wasn't an archangel, but he's helped me so much. And I was part of his shift of being an archangel, which is really fascinating. I'm the only person out of thousands of people that he helps that talks to him on almost a daily basis. So I have quite the connection to him, and I understand his energy. It's difficult to put into words. But he can be very juvenile at times, and then other times it's mind-blowing what comes out, and the things that he talks about and he explains. So here you have a source connected to the other side that you can ask any questions you want to, and it's mind-bending. It's difficult to explain to other people because no one understands it. I know what's going on. I'm 100% involved in this. I know how much he's helped me. I know how much I've learned from him. And it's difficult to get people to kind of be on board. Just like, here's a perfect example. Just real quick. 2 days after my dad passed away, I'm in my mom and dad's bedroom, and I'm laying on the bed, and I'm there for my mom because this had just happened. And you got to remember too, my mom was married to my dad for 56 years. So, so I'm sitting there, and my mom's watching TV, and I'm listening to YouTube stuff, probably listening to Eric's stuff on his mom's channel, channeling Eric. All of a sudden, I hear in my left ear, and these are wired in, plugged into my phone headset, I hear my father's voice in my left ear say my name. And it jolted me. I pulled the thing out of my ear, and my mom's looking at me like, what's going on? And I said, you're not going to believe me if I tell you. And she goes, go ahead. And I said, I just heard Dad say my name in my ear. I said, that's the honest to God truth. She goes, I believe you. And I said, I'm not imagining. This is not imagination. This is real. I heard it. I know my dad's tone, but it was kind of it wasn't it's how he would say my name in life, but you could hear it was almost like digitally done. Like he had to find the right frequency.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so the reason I asked you is because supposedly once you pass, so see, I was trying to figure out if some of these beings we interact with that we channel, like Eric, they've moved on. And so supposedly there is no age, there is no time.
No,
you just go back to energy.
Yeah.
And matter.
You're pure energy. That's right.
But if you're trapped, and you haven't ascended all the way,
Mm-hmm.
and you still have a tether to your material world and environment, and you don't want to leave it, and you're unexpectedly taken from it, whether through tragedy or not, you might be holding on your frequency. You're not letting that frequency vibrate.
The beliefs before you leave. That's why it's so important to
do the work right here.
Do the work now, and it'll be much easier for you. Yeah, when you move on. Because I've asked him, I said, is this going to make things a lot easier for me? And he said, absolutely, it's going to make it easier for you.
The analogy I would use here is the same. It's the same kind of analogy as somebody like me who's lived in 4 different countries. So when I left the United States for the 3rd time, I was 21 years old. That was in 1991, and I went to Czechoslovakia. And I lived there for 7 years, and I came back. So when I came back, all those friendships that I had in the United States were like those people knew me back in the day when I was like 21. But in the interim, I had matured. I had progressed. When I was living in Czechoslovakia, I had a different job. I had advanced in not only age, but also advanced in various other aspects, life experience and the whole bit. So in a sense, when I returned, it's as if I had returned back to my 21-year-old self in a different country. But since I knew that realm as well as the United States, I could communicate about both realms. So if somebody were to ask me, like, so what is Czech Republic like? What kind of foods do they eat? What kind of houses do they have and stuff like that? I can answer quite authoritatively. So that's the same with Eric or other beings that communicate between realms with various people.
Let me tell you.
Hang on just a second. I wanted to acknowledge
Lucky Stone, the comment that he made.
Lucky Stone and Mary Wins and Mandy Moo came in, and for all you folks that have joined us, Delaney, late, good to see you all. Hi, Mandy, sister. Hope you're feeling better with your hand. Hope your hand is healing. Lucky Stone, one of my guides is a 500-year-old, a 4-year-old, and he's both. Sometimes an angry old man and a playful child.
Yep. It just
what is that?
Well, it's the same analogy.
Depends on what they want, the energy that they want, or whatever you're dealing with, or whatever's going on, or whatever your situation is. If he comes in as a 500-year-old person or being, ascended person, he's going to have a different level of.
That's just freaking blowing my mind.
Or more playful, being the 4-year-old, he's going to come at it at a different angle. So it's just the angles that they come in with. But yes, I know they don't have emotion. They're just pure love. In my experience with Eric, it's just, I'm always dealing with this pure energy.
And I could back up Mary Wins 100%. She's telling Brenda right now she's been communicating with Brian out in the garden. And I know that feeling because that's when he comes to me too, is in the garden.
Yep.
And so here you go again.
I've experienced
I have a feeling, I've said this before, and I'm still feeling this way. That they're coming down. Okay, so they do
have to lower their vibration.
They lower their vibration.
It's hard for them to do it, especially for any amount of time. 20 minutes is the max for my guy.
And has Eric? Okay, but let me get back to Eric in a second.
Okay.
So they come down. They lower their frequency to make that telepathic connection or to communicate, like Mary feels a presence. Now, Mary, tell me in the chat if you're getting an audible or is it through thought? Because when Brian comes to me, only once did I ever hear, "Hey, Teresa," in his voice. Only once. And that was to get my attention. Now it's just, he'll start talking to me. And he talks to me using his accent.
Right. But it's your voice in your mind.
No, it's his voice.
But
it's not in my ears. It's in my head.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting.
I don't hear it in my ears. I hear it in my head, but I hear it in his voice with his intonation and his accent. That's the only way he ever communicates with me. And they said in this book that they can temporarily, if they have to, or if they think they need to, appear long enough to have an interaction with you, they can manifest.
Mm-hmm.
Now, those are the spirit realm I'm talking about. The ones that have passed on that haven't ascended yet, they seem to be entirely different. They seem to be in both worlds. They got 1 foot on this side of the fence and 1 foot on this side of the fence, and they can appear and not appear.
And
they'll suck your batteries. I've been
Yep.
through a 12-pack of batteries at Penhurst.
Yeah.
They suck all your energy out of all your equipment. I've seen them do it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the analogy would be, again, somebody living in a foreign country. Like when I was living in Czechoslovakia in between 1991 and 1997, it was really expensive to make a phone call to the United States. It cost like $2 a minute. So that would require effort on my part to contact somebody back there. Whereas it was a lot easier for somebody from the United States to call me because it was a lot cheaper, even relative to their income levels. So that would be the perfect analogy.
Similar analogy. But now back to Eric. Eric never manifests himself to you. You never get to see what he looks like?
I can't see him. I only know his energy. I feel his energy. And I know when it's his and I know when it's not his. And I've developed this interesting thing where I gave him a password. He has 2 passwords. And it just depends on which password I'm going to ask for. And I ask for it in my mind, but I never say it in my mind, because if my thoughts are being monitored by other energies, they'll pick up on it. They'll get in the door and then they'll feed me a bunch of crap. Now, I went through some really hard lessons on discernment and trusting. You can't trust all these energies. I mean, you seriously have to work at this, because if you do, you're going to be told something that's not true. And then you try to bring that to other people and it's not right. And so they're creating that havoc. So I learned very quickly that Eric only has my best interest at heart, and he'll never give me anything that makes me feel that way. And that was one of my first. And I was mad at Eric because I thought it was Eric. I was mad at him for about 3 or 4 days. I didn't want to talk to him. And then I realized what was going on, and I learned a valuable lesson. So I know when it's his energy, and I know when it's not. And if it's not, I tell the energy, you better leave now, or I'm going to send you love for eternity. And I can do it. And I have this imagery in my mind where I have a super soaker full of love bombs, and I just spray you with it. And they don't like that. And they run fast. They never come back. And that pendulum goes flat. Boom,
I just think that some of these, I think that some of these have the ability to tap into your memories.
They can. That's
your
why
fears,
it's so
your fears,
dangerous. Yes.
Your likes, your dislikes,
absolutely.
Your ice cream that you like, the colors.
Yep.
They will manifest.
They can read your thoughts.
In whatever
your thoughts can be read 24/7, no matter what you're thinking. Those thoughts, because those thoughts are out there, they can be picked up in the etheric realms, no problem.
Right.
So that's why it's really important to be careful what you think.
Sure.
Because every time you think a thought, you're putting it out into the etheric realms.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to pick it up.
Yeah, thoughts are real.
Yeah. The point that I was trying to make is that they can manifest themselves in ways that you're going to feel familiar and comfortable with. Put to you this way, the good guys are going to manifest themselves in a great way, like, somebody you really love and something you really resonate with.
Oh, they can trick you.
The not so great guys are going to manifest themselves as something that's going to scare the crap out of you because they know you're afraid of snakes or ants or whatever.
Right.
See what I'm saying? They can manipulate your thoughts.
Yep. You have to be fearless. You have to be strong. You have to be grounded. You have to understand about your prayer of protection. You have to know that you have that shield that's impervious to any energies that are not of the light. And if I get something that is not of the light, the first thing I ask them is, are you of the light? And they cannot lie to you. They have to tell you. And as soon as I see no, that's when I get the super soaker. And I'm like, I'm going to send you love like you never had. And man, they're gone. They're gone in an instant. They don't want anything to do with love.
So much to discuss. Seeing a being is different than feeling a spirit.
Yep.
Yes. Love can mean compassion or many different levels of affection. Spiritual contact is far beyond our normal senses. I would have to agree.
Definitely.
And it's real. It's real. It's real.
Yeah, because thoughts are real, and thoughts, they can be photographed, they can be measured in the form of the aura. You can affect your aura. Psychokinesis is absolutely real. It's been demonstrated. So is precognition. So is all the other psychic phenomena.
Right.
I mean, no doubt about it. So, yeah, you got to control your thoughts.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, this is really cool. This has been a good conversation because I've been wanting to get to the bottom of this, and we have another segment to the chapter 4, which talks about the organization of the celestial. We've been focusing right here on more of your physical and otherworldly beings and other non-human being spirits. There's another whole celestial order and organization that differs. They're your ascended masters, your gods and goddesses. They're different than everything we've been talking about here, except that it sounds like Lori has stumbled across an ascended master. Now, did you know? Okay, so if Jesus and Buddha and all of these others, like Shiva, and if they're real, and I have every reason to believe Jesus was a person, a rabbi, who was highly connected with source or spirit. That's how I've always seen him. But with these celestial beings, they apparently are fully aware of who they are. They know who they are, and they incarnate here with us, some of them, but they don't always know until most of their lifetime with us is over who they are. There are a few people that I know in the soul tribe that I've always thought, that's an ascended master who's living this life with me, and eventually it's going to kick in so that they're going to go into overdrive and start showing people a lot of stuff.
Well,
and I've met them.
Yeah.
And I know who they are.
So
I know who some of them are.
It would blow your mind if I told you I've had conversations with God. You're instantly going to go, whoa, no way. No,
when you told me that, I wasn't surprised.
I know. It sounds bizarre.
I'd say that depends on the nature of the information. Like, is the information obtainable by other means? Like reading
questions about God itself. And what I learned was through this conversation with God, was that God is an energy. It's a consciousness. It is not a physical being. It's never been physical. We're aspects of God having a physical experience, and we're taking that back to the whole. But God is a universal consciousness. And let me tell you, when I speak to this, and I've done this like twice, the amount of love that comes over me, I'm like showered with love. And it's overwhelming, and I instantly start crying. That's when I know that I'm really in the presence of this divine energy. And to me, it makes total sense that there's not a one being that is a God, or that is God. It is a consciousness, an all-encompassing consciousness. That's my understanding. That's my own personal take on it. I'm not trying to get anybody to believe.
I've been through it 3 times in my life where I
know it sounds absurd, but
that's why it wasn't foreign to me. It was not foreign.
No, it's a universal consciousness.
Universal basic.
Now,
Johann, then you know what I'm talking about.
You know what the Christians refer to it as?
What's that?
It's almost, there's a slight twist to it. But when I was a practicing Christian, I became filled with the Holy Spirit. It was the first time I accepted Jesus Christ as my personal Lord and Savior. I was filled with the Holy Spirit. I was so ecstatic. I ran out front and I held onto a flagpole and hugged it. Why? I don't know.
Because
that feeling, that connection, it's so powerful that when the Christos Spirit
overwhelming
comes to you, now they call it the filling. And I said, Lori, you were filled with the Christos.
That's exactly what it was.
I was a Christian as well, and that never happened to me.
Now, see, I'm not a religious person. I never grew up that way. I don't understand anything about religion because I've never been immersed in any of it. I haven't known people that are highly religious. I have no concept of what that's all about.
Yeah. Well, see, the perception is that they're getting a feeling that it's entering them. But I have since learned in my spiritual journey over time that the feeling, in sci-fi, what was it? The quickening.
Yeah.
It's like the quickening. The filling of the Holy Spirit or the quickening. It's this momentary rush of connection. Now, if you want to perceive it as a filling and something's coming to you, maybe
it's hard
not
to
everybody's going to
describe.
feel. It's hard to put your wrap your head around it, but it's just an instant connection. It's like, oh my God, I've connected with Source. Oh my God, I've connected with Source, so I know that Source is in me. I know I can vibrate at that frequency, if even only for a short period.
Right.
And I've made that connection, and so it just so happens whenever I've made that connection, I've had a vision. Or I've had something happen where in my waking dreams, or something, I get a message, but there's a connection.
Yep. And it's like Johann Dancing Gypsy says, it's love. God is love. Our journey is to find and experience and become true love. It's a journey. And that's exactly
right, Jojo.
What it was. It was an, oh man.
That's right, Jojo. Yeah.
It's hard to put into words.
You get a lightning bolt if you're hard-headed, right, Chrissy?
Yeah. It's a trip.
Yeah.
It's a trip.
It is.
And then you come out of it and you're like, did that really just happen? What the hell?
Lori, do you have that first slide real quick? I know it's getting late, but
it's okay.
Can you go back to that celestial where we left off?
Yes, this one?
Yeah. Okay. This is showing all the beings out there. Just flip over to the next slide. Thousands upon thousands of invisible spirit beings, forces, and agencies ministering to the growth and well-being of your planet. They're mostly of seraphic or angelic origin, acting as messengers, guides, transports, and death agents. So I met a messenger or some type of a guide, a guardian angel or a messenger that worked with me in that airport. That's that from my story.
Right.
Now, divine members of these celestial governments are energy controllers for all inhabited worlds. They ensure proper ministry of the evolutionary species, maintaining harmonic balance of the planet with its neighboring worlds. Next slide. It goes on to say that they are created, but they are not evolutionary because they do not require embodiment in a physical form in order to attain complete self-realization. This is why I was asking you those questions about Eric. Yes. He doesn't have to become manifest in physical.
No. And I can tell you, I did get a message because Mandy and I were talking one day and she thought he might be of the Ruby Order, and he gave me a message, and it's quite interesting. He says, I'm not from the Ruby Order. I am from the Galactic Order of 12. I'm very much Lori's guide. I am very much taken by how Lori channels my energy. She's so proficient at it. I work with her to help the collective expand and to know self. She is a light worker who is super connected to self. He's so right. She has allowed me to serve her. She has allowed me to grow from her inner strength and has helped me give me my wings. I'm pleased she's my student and I love and adore her. Know she is pure love. I am blessed by her efforts. Please learn to love self first. I am not the Ruby Order. I am a sovereign being here to help humanity learn and grow. And that's my role in all of this, is to be the connection between the etheric realm from him and the physical, to bring the two together. And I honestly feel my purpose is, after this life, is to become a guide. So I'll be doing a lot of this kind of work when I leave this realm.
I've had the same kind of download,
coming back,
not the same words, but we got the same download. Yeah,
no, you and I know that, but that's
profound.
Yeah, we got the same message around the same time from two. She got it from her guide, and I got it from mine.
We're working together. That's why we mesh.
That's why we flow so well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty funny because I got it from Great Mother and Great Spirit and Great Mother combination around the same time she got it from Eric, and that was just mind blowing.
Yep.
Same message.
So we've been doing this work lifetime after lifetime. This is not our first go round. Is
not
it?
Our first rodeo.
Yeah.
See, that's the thing. I can't say that I have like such a being that I'm in contact with. I get a lot of deep insight through dreams that I had. You know, sometimes these are dreams that when I write them out, they're like 5 pages long. Sometimes they're just snippets. But in every case, it's knowledge that you wouldn't be able to find in any other way, except like what's been shown to me in dreams, where I'm either sitting in a lecture hall, or somebody's talking to me, somebody's showing me things, you know, drawings, or telling me histories. So, you know, like I said, I don't have a being that I can count on at any time and just ask, you know, like Eric or, you know, a spirit guide.
Yeah. Well,
that's why I need physical, you know, physical crutches like the cards or the pendulum. You know?
Well, and everybody has their own unique way of doing that. You know, there are people who won't even touch a pendulum, or that's not something that they're into, or they're clairaudient, clairsentient. You know, it just, it's all in how your unique way of communicating, just like as Lucky Stone has his ways.
Jules has a unique communication system. Jules doesn't connect the way some of us do with an entity or a being or what she would even call a spirit. I was explaining this to Lori the other day, and I chatted with Jules about it. Jules's connection is under this crown. It's within this matter and protons and electrons and matter, whatever it is. She gets it direct from source through nature. It's very rare that someone like Jules gets it directly from source through nature. So the trees talk to her, the rocks talk to her, the water talks to her. She's connected with all of the elements. The messages that she gets are
in other words, omens. Almost like omens.
She's so tapped in, tuned in to the energies of the earth that she, just by putting her feet on the ground, she can tell you when there's going to be an earthquake. She'll get it, a little jolt, but she's highly, highly intuitive, and she's so connected to
messages come to her, not from necessarily from angelic beings or ascended masters or gods and goddesses, or she
picks it up completely different,
completely from the earth's energy itself, which is source itself.
And I suspect that's just her evolution of her soul. That's where she's at.
The evolution. So she falls under category 1.
Yes. Yeah, there you go.
What the Mayans were called the Pachamama. The Pachamama, the Earth Mother. Except that, you know, I was shown that every single planet has its own Earth Mother.
It does.
There's 17 of them. 17 inhabited ones in this galaxy.
Planets
I don't know what they are.
Conscious energy. They are conscious beings. Planets are. They refer to each other, and I've spoken to planets, especially you remember Patrick Garrett when he did
excellent show.
So I gave it a shot and I tried it, and I talked to Mars, and I've even done that on my channel with it. But they are sentient beings. They're conscious, and Mars refers to Earth as his sister, Sister Earth, Sister Gaia, however he wants to put it. And Mercury is a very masculine energy. Very, very masculine and sweet. Hi,
Nina. Welcome. We must have drifted. She must be finished with her program. Welcome. Good to see you, Nina. Good to see you. I would have had her on for this discussion, but she's doing her card reads at the same time. And she'd be a good one to talk to too, because she connects to yet another different group of entities than some of us connect with. Yeah. So maybe when we get to another chapter on this, we can bring Nina in, because I think she connects with some of the elemental types. I don't know. I don't want to put words in your mouth.
If you are open to it, you absolutely have. If you're going to do something like this, You have to open yourself up, but you also have to learn how to protect and discernment. And if you don't have those, I don't recommend you doing it, because you can open portals and have all kinds of issues. And I've learned how to close and open. I can close negative portals, and I can open positive creative portals. I can open abundance portals, and I can do that with the rods. So that's another thing I've learned with Eric and his mom, Elisa Medus. Yeah.
And yes, I do believe that trees do talk to you. I've got a couple down by the lake that I always go to. I could go into any tree I wanted, but those two are the ones I always go to, because there's a connection there. And
I love hugging trees, believe it or not.
Yeah.
I love it. It's so grounding.
I don't typically
sit at the base of a tree and
I put my back against it.
That's the best.
That's my way of hugging it.
Yeah, they get to know you. It's really interesting. I have a huge tree in my front yard. I call him Mr. Biggs, and he's 20 years old, and he's got a huge trunk, and it's solid and straight. And that thing I constantly talk to it all the time. It protects my home.
Hi, Robert. Good to see you, Robert. Well, Grandpa Brian tried to get in, and
he did.
He told us what was going on, so that was a good test. So now we know what to do with him before he comes on.
Yeah.
So we'll set up a session on a Tuesday.
Good. I would love that.
Brian will set up a session on a Tuesday with Lori, and we'll correct that problem so that you're ready to go when you come on. So that'll be great. Yeah, love having Brian on. That would be wonderful. Well, Dalibor, any closing words on this particular chapter? Does anybody have anything they want to add?
Well, I don't know. I guess if we could change the closing music to ABBA's "I Believe in Angels," that would be kind of appropriate. But I don't think the copyright censors would allow that.
That's the biggest problem I have is that copyright stuff.
No, I mean,
free copyright on it. I'll use it.
I love that. That was the song that was going through my mind today.
Yeah, I love that back in the day. I love that. Yeah.
I'd like to do this again, and I would like to encourage folks out there, you know, if you want to come on here and continue with this book that we're doing on the invisible and invisible worlds of God, and you want to come on and share some of your stories and experiences, that's what this is for. So feel free to get in contact with us, and we'll bring you on and let you share your stories, because we'll be covering a little bit more material. It gets deeper into the next section about your thoughts.
Wow.
As Lori was saying,
that's the most anybody.
You think your thoughts are your own?
They're not.
They're not. So that's
You're
the
always
next chapter.
being listened to. You're always being listened to.
Sometimes they are your own, and sometimes they're not. But even when you do have your own thoughts, you got to be careful to.
Well, you know it's not your thought when it comes in out of the blue, out of nowhere. That's how you know.
Yeah.
When you have a thought that you're just like, why am I thinking that? That is not your thought. That's coming from outside.
Well, now there is something. The next slide that Lori had up there, the next slide would have said, part of the reason folks like me have been so back off with some of this channeling is because let's say you've checked everything out, you feel comfortable with it, and so you trust this entity or whatever you're interacting with. When you're channeling, there's this old programming that goes on, and sometimes it might not be a bad thing, but there's something called brainwashing. And so the idea that I am allowing myself to let go of my own control, to let something else in to my thought that I didn't, that's going to start planting seeds of thought and trying to convince me of something or trying to train me or guide me. I'm like, you have to really you have to be very strong in your own gnosis, your own intuition. You have to be secure as hell in your own skin to allow something like that to, otherwise you could be.
But I agree, but think about it this way.
I'm Manchurian candidate.
The Catholic Church, believe it or not, actually condones this practice, and they have a list of spirits that they allow you to communicate with them, and those are called the saints. And each of these saints has their own specialty. Like, for example, when I lived in Smechno, Czech Republic, the patron saint of that town was Saint Donato. and he's the patron saint of finding buried treasure. He's the patron saint of people finding unexpected wealth.
I'm blown away right now, Dalibor.
So,
what in the hell kind of Catholic church did you worship in?
Well, in the Catholic Church, they do allow you to like pray to various saints.
Well, we pray to them. We give them
Saint
thanks
Jude,
and praise. Yeah.
Saint Jude, who heals like the sick. Saint Francis.
Yeah, they do pray to them.
Exactly. So, in other words, those are like sanctioned or permitted interactions with certain selected spirits. And here's the list of them. And those are the saints.
Okay, they never talk. Okay, they never talk about them as spirits. I'm with you.
But they are.
Yeah, but they don't. They don't.
They're
teach
not just
us,
statues.
They don't teach us to connect with the spirit of Saint Teresa.
In a sense, they do because lately, since Vatican II, which happened in the '60s, they were actually encouraging Catholics to pray to Mary more so than Jesus, because Mary had at one time been a physical being who was able to better intercede on behalf of humans.
Yeah, Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee.
Exactly.
Blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Yeah. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for me and for all of our sinners now and at the end of our death. Amen.
Yeah,
that's a prayer. To the memory of her, but we're not saying, Mary, Mother of God, please enter. Mary, Mother of God, please come talk to me and give me messages. Mary, Mother of God, please direct me and guide me. We don't do that.
But that happened. That happened in the Marian apparitions. That happened in Cairo, 1968.
Really?
Yes, it did.
Wow. They actually summoned her as a spirit?
Yes. Yes.
Wow.
A lot of people that went to this.
The Lord, yes. This was an apparition at Lourdes in France or Spain, I forget. And it was in the early part of the 1900s, and it was even photographed.
Yep. What if it wasn't her?
Same with the Marian apparition in Cairo, where they photographed it. They got it on video camera on live national TV, and it's a white figure, in the approximate shape of a human, hovering above a church.
Wow.
In Cairo. So the Catholic Church doesn't say this is demonic. No, they're actually, by their silence, for the most part, they're actually encouraging this.
Yeah, see, so this brings me back to, why on earth would I want, there you go. Why would I want to let anything come into my reality? Why?
I understand where you're coming from.
If I'm a sovereign being, which I am, and I'm connected to Source, part of Source energy, as we all are, then why do I need anything else outside of me?
Well, because you need friends. You need coworkers. I
did it because I wanted to understand what my purpose on Earth was.
Well, Dalibor, that's like saying I'm a lonely little child, so I need an imaginary friend to play with.
That's not imaginary. That's not imaginary. You need friends. You need neighbors. You need colleagues. You need
people need people. People need people.
Exactly.
Do people need spirits? Do people need spirits?
But you are a spirit. You're a spirit.
Right. I'm a spirit
trapped in a body. Yeah.
So spirits need other spirits.
You're not trapped in a body. It's a gift. This body is a gift.
It's a gift. Yeah. You're a spirit incarnate inside a body.
You've been given a gift, and you're a warrior.
Right.
Every person that is on Earth is considered a warrior from the other side, because you got the cojones to come here and do the work.
Okay. Well, I'll keep my connection with Source. And
you do what works best for you, Teresa.
Yeah, with great spirit. I'll keep that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'll keep that connection with Mother, who I think is Gaia.
And you do what feels good for you.
Yep. And there is one other guide that Lori has helped me to identify that I do feel that same energy connection from.
Yeah.
I won't be channeling spirits, though.
No. You don't need to do that. That's not your purpose.
No. And so it's just because I feel like I have this, I don't feel like I need it. Now, if other people want to do it, I'm not saying it's wrong. See, that's where I differ from some other people. Some other people would be sitting here telling you, don't do it. You don't have to do it. It's wrong.
Right.
You know, well, it's not necessarily wrong if you're getting something good out of it and it's serving a higher purpose and you haven't killed anybody and you're not breaking any universal laws. If you're channeling something, then you're channeling something. You know, those same people that tell you that you shouldn't channel are channeling alien beings from another planet. And I'm like, whoa, you're saying that there's a group of Soul Tribe members that shouldn't channel other spirits, but it's okay for you to channel an alien being that you're talking to from planet Abracadabra. Yeah. I mean, I'm sorry, but that's a double standard. You either channel or you don't. And so if you channel, like Lori's saying, you say your protection, your prayer of protection. And I'm saying you have to be strong mentally, physically. You do. You have to have been through your dark night. You have to have found your true self. Do not come into this spiritual community just learning
Take it seriously
and start channeling. Because you don't know how to interact appropriately with other beings.
It's just like channeling Google. You can't trust all the information, but you can trust some of it.
That's where the discernment comes in.
That's where the discernment comes in.
But you have to
have a kind of a bullshit meter inside your head that tells you, oh, this is probably true, this is probably not true.
If you're just waking up and you're just finding your spirituality and you're just now learning about all these things, it's not the right time to start channeling.
No.
And because you haven't developed that intuitiveness yet. Now, you might want to do it with another person who can help you. Like Lori's helped me a couple of times. A mentor. You know, get a mentor if you're gonna if you start hearing things, well, of course you go to a mentor. A mentor can help you how to sort through that. But I'm concerned of this thing where I had a cousin. Who thought he was a god of, I think he thought he was Jesus Christ, and he got violent with people because he was channeling that energy, but he was punishing people. Jesus Christ doesn't go around punishing people. We even had somebody who came into a chat room the other night. I don't know if it was Scotty's chat room. I think it was. And this dude comes on. He was a troll. And he's trolling the chat room, and he's doing all this Christian stuff. And it's like, okay, what is your problem? And he's like telling people that Jesus punishes you, and Jesus will beat you and punish you. And I'm like, where did that come from? And what Christian world did you come from?
There's a perfect example of discernment. Am I going to sit here and listen to somebody say that? Or am I going to go, okay?
Not everybody that passes away and ascends is through with all that cleansing that Dalibor mentioned tonight. You got to get the work done while you're here before you ascend, because you don't know what you're channeling. You could be channeling in a really angry spirit.
You really have to be careful.
Not just that, but there does exist such a thing as insanity, and some of these people that claim to be channeling beings could actually just simply be insane. Like, for example, I knew somebody who claimed to be Sherlock Holmes. He dressed the part, he spoke the part, called everybody Watson, and he was certifiably fried in the head. So, because we all know that, Sherlock Holmes never existed. He was just a fictional character, but this guy thought he was him. So, that's a perfect example of like transpersonalization, where somebody believes himself to be something that he's not,
This whole experience of being human is one great big mind, what.
Oh yeah.
On so many levels.
Now these guys are in here. Don't be afraid. I'm not saying be fear, be panicky. Just use your intelligence, higher conscious, intuitiveness, and you have to take the time to develop it. Yeah, be smart about it is what I'm saying. I'm not saying it's wrong.
No,
you should fear it or go into any kind of panic.
It is what it is.
It is what it is. And some things are going to resonate with some people differently than others. And it's all about perception. But
exactly.
I've seen people get really messed up.
Play it by ear, and if your group or whatever your society starts telling you, okay, you're off the beaten path, and maybe it's not a bad idea to listen to them. There's an old Ukrainian saying: if one person calls you a horse, you can just ignore them. If two people call you a horse, you can ignore them too. But if three people call you a horse, go out and get yourself a saddle.
Yeah.
Or you become a horse, as you know what.
I would like to leave you. I would like to leave this with a tip here for you folks. I want to because we do need to end this. We've gone way.
That's fine.
I want to leave you a tip, though, that it's in my heart to share this with everyone.
Okay.
And that is that each one of us being sovereign and being part of Source, we have it within ourselves, our own strength and our own power to turn something on or off, because we can raise and lower our vibrations as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So just because these other spirits can raise their vibrations to meet with you or lower their vibrations to meet with you, you too can control your vibration. You know that whenever you display anger, you've got a vibe going that you don't necessarily want to have going sometimes. But sometimes it's a happy vibe and you're laughing. We control our vibes. Right. So when something is vibing with us and we don't feel comfortable with it, you can actually snap your fingers and say, go away, gone.
Right.
Bam. Right. Stop it. Leave.
Because you're sovereign. You're a sovereign.
Because you're sovereign. So when I see in the clouds these figures and they get more real to me, like they do with Brian Lunsford, and he's like, hey, want some pizza and some ice cream? You know, he has a way of dealing with it with humor. I just go, and if I don't want to see them, I don't see them. In other words, if I don't want to tune into let them tune into my frequency, I shut them down. Right. I can walk away and not look up the sky, and they won't be there 1 minute from the next. I could do the same thing with an entity on a paranormal investigation. If I don't want you to interact with me, go.
It's not happening.
I don't have to get violent. I don't have to get nasty.
That's the strength part.
Turn it off or on.
Right. Right.
Remember that if you come across something you're not sure of,
right,
you don't know how to deal with it. Something's talking to you. You're not sure if it's good or bad, and you don't feel comfortable. Shut it down
and send it love.
Send it love, and come to one of us or anybody in the soul tribe you feel comfortable with that you know has done, and get some just chat about it. You know, you might get some. I mean, I had something going on here not so long ago, and Lori really, if I didn't have Lori, I think I'd probably still be dealing with it. So I was like,
it away, didn't we?
We kicked some tail.
Kicked its ass.
Kicked its butt. So the point is that you know, sometimes it's okay to team up with somebody where two or more are gathered. Yeah, there's strength in the power of three. Remember that there is a power of three. So get a couple sisters, get a couple brothers, whatever. And help you with it, especially if you're new to all this. Yeah. Okay. So most of you out there in our chat room, you're pretty seasoned, you know, but we got people listening. Sure. This might be helpful to them because people don't understand. It is a combination of our thoughts. This is what Rocky Stucci was saying last week. It's a combination of our thoughts, but it's also something there and how they interact. And you are the strong one. You have power over any of this.
That's right.
And I keep telling people, even seasoned people in the soul tribe, why are you upset that somebody put a curse on you? Why are you upset that somebody's doing a voodoo doll thing on you? You know, only if you believe it.
Right.
Well, but they believe it. I don't care. They believe it. I don't care what they believe. Yeah, but they think they can. I don't care what they think they can do. Okay,
not only if you allow it. Yeah, if you don't allow it, it cannot affect you in any way.
Yeah,
that's the strength part. That's where you have to know in your heart that you have control, and you do, most definitely.
And couples with discernment. Yeah, you
exactly. There it is.
Yep. So anyway, enough blah blah blah. But
it's been a great show. It's been wonderful talking about it.
Are we gonna hook into David Barry's to play that as the exit?
Yes.
We'll say goodbye now, and we're gonna play David Barry's
video, and then we'll
video on the way out, and say goodbye to everybody. Thanks for coming, folks.
Yeah, really appreciate you, and so much peace and love to all of you.
Yeah. Bye. We love you.
Peace. Here we go. Peace. Can you see it, guys?
Not yet.
Okay.
It's David Barry's channel that we're playing it off of. Yeah. Split screen.
Can you see it now?
I can see the split screen, yeah.
Okay.
I can see you with your little mouse. Click, 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 click.
Clickety, click, click. Here we go.
Click, click, click.
You see it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Brenda. Thank you, Grandpa.
Thank you, everyone.
Truth Seeker, everyone.
Yeah.
Sloaney. Much love to you, Sloaney. There, this is David's
Yeah,
shell.
very cool.
This is what I told you about his Universal Soul Tribe.
Love it.
For those of you who came in late and didn't hear it, he says, I am Soul Tribe. He's developed it with the intent for it to be shared with all soul tribes all over the world. So he's hoping that people who have other communities like we've created in different parts of the United States or overseas will see this. And that intent is to unite all the soul tribes in consciousness together to prepare for this shift. So that's why it's a generic design.
I love that.
Yeah, I like that one. Of course, Wayne wanted that teddy bear in there. And Trina
Get
probably.
your teddy bear on, Wayne.
Ooh, Ruby would like that.
Oh, yeah.
Ruby would like that. Yeah. That's cool. Yeah, those are nice products.
Mm-hmm. So much, so many different types. Oh, I like the hat.
Yeah, I really dig what he's doing with this.
Yeah,
because
I do too.
It's, trying to bring everybody together in unity.
Absolutely.
All soul tribes, stand up, pay attention. We're all part of the same,
Mm-hmm.
force. We are a force. You know what else he said? You can, if you got a business, or like if you want an illustration, or you want a logo, or you want a business card, any product you want for your own group.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say you have a small group, you can order through him and he'll design it for you.
His link is in the description as well. So his YouTube channel and also the link to this.
Yep.
Awesome.
And I'm not saying you should do this, but for example, Grandpa Brian, we all belong to different groups, clubs and groups that are all connected, like-minded. And if you want to design a club T-shirt or a group T-shirt, David Berry will put it together for you and help you handle the ordering through his site, so you don't have to worry about handling the ordering. You know. I think the Soul Tribe cards will end up there eventually too.
Yeah, I'm excited.
All right,
everybody. Peace and love to all of you. Have a wonderful evening. Hey, and we'll see you Friday night. Okay.
Cosmic hugs, everybody.
Big squeeze.
Yeah.
Big squeeze. Love you.
See ya.